Hello, how are you guys doing today? Hey, as you can see from my sweater, the weather has changed. It's getting cool out now. Fall has arrived. Well, today, Grandma wants to read you a story by an author named Hans Christian Andersen. He lived back in the 1800s, so this is a very old story, but it's a good one. It's called The Emperor's New Clothes. Once upon a time, there was an emperor who thought more about his clothes than about anything else. He spent all his money on his clothes. He cared nothing for affairs of state. He left the governing of the country to his ministers. He cared nothing for amusements or entertainment. If he rode into the country or into the woods, it was only to show off his new clothes. He had a new costume for every hour of the day. Well, in some lands, it might have been said, the emperor is in his council chamber. Here, it was always, the emperor is in the wardrobe changing his clothes. Now, the city in which the emperor lived was a very gay and busy one. Strangers were always coming and going. Kings, beggars, merchants, peasants. They all rubbed elbows in the crowded streets. It so happened that one day, two rogues came to the city. Do you know what a rogue is? A rogue is a dishonest person. And they set themselves up as weavers. They claimed that they could weave beautiful and rare cloth. The most remarkable thing about their fabric, they said, was that if the person looking at it were a fool or unfit to do his work, he would see nothing. To such a one, the cloth would remain invisible. When the emperor heard of this, he said, "What a fine thing it will be to own such wondrous cloth. I can soon tell who in my kingdom are fools and who are unfit for their offices. Those who are wise will be able to see the clothes, as will those who fill their offices well. All others will look at the cloth and see nothing." So, when the two rogues demanded a great deal of money in advance, it was given to them. They set up their looms where everyone could see. They wove with empty shuttles, and now and then they would stop as if to cut and snip. But of course, they cut nothing from nothing, and all the while they asked the emperor for silver thread and gold, for jewels to sew upon the cloth, and for silken threads of every color. All this they hid away safely for themselves. Their money bags bulged. Now let me show you the picture. It's a picture of the rogues weaving on their empty loom. You see, this story was written a long time ago when people would actually get to see people weaving cloth. And they didn't dress the way we do these today. Okay, there he is. Those rogues weaving their empty loom. The emperor thought that he would like to visit the weavers, but he did not wish to be the first to go. He said, "I will send my minister. He is certainly no fool, and he does his work well." The minister visited the two rogues. They were busily at work with no thread. They pointed out to the minister the wonderful colors. "See how unusual is the design, how original. Never before have gold and silver threads been used with such cleverness." The weavers added, gently stroking the place where the cloth should have been. The minister looked at the looms in amazement. He could see nothing, nothing at all. "How strange," the minister said to himself. "Surely it cannot be that I am unworthy of the trust the emperor has put in me. I can certainly not believe that I am unfit for my office. But if it is so, no one must guess the unhappy truth. It will remain a secret with me." So The minister admired all that he saw. He listened carefully as the rogues described the pattern so that he could remember and tell the emperor. Yes, I am much pleased, he said, and I will bring word to the emperor of the excellence of your weaving. Since the minister thought the cloth so beautiful, the two rogues dared ask for yet more gold and silver thread and more pearls. As before, they put everything into their pockets. The emperor sent another official of his court. When he visited the rogues and saw the empty looms and watched them weave with empty shuttles, he was struck dumb. Is this not a wonderful piece of cloth? Asked the weavers, pointing to nothing at all. See how the colors blend and the jewels gleam. Ah, I am not a fool that I know of, the official said to himself. And if I am unfit for my high place, it must be concealed at all costs. So he bowed and said, never have I seen such colors. Wonderful, delightful. The rogues again demanded more silk, more gold, and more silver thread. At last, the emperor decided to visit the weavers himself. He took with him the two who had already been to see the impostors, and a great number from his court besides, all those who held the most important positions. When the emperor entered the room, the rogues were busily sending their empty shuttles back and forth across the empty looms. The emperor could not see a thing. Oh, he groaned, how terrible that I, the emperor, should fail to see the cloth. Nothing could be worse. If this should become known, it would surely bring disaster to me. Here's the pictures. There are the rogues showing the court person the empty loom with no cloth on it. And there's the king looking at the empty looms. He can't see a thing, but he doesn't want to admit it. And those imposters, those dishonest weavers, are just collecting more and more money and gold and jewels and silver, and they're not really doing a thing with it. So when all the courtiers cried out, exquisite, enchanting, such a fine weave, such an elaborate pattern, such bold contrast of color, the praise of the emperor was even louder. He ordered enough cloth for a suit of clothes to wear on the occasion of a great procession that was soon to take place. That will make the day notable indeed, cried all the courtiers. Surely this costume will outshine any that you have worn before. The weavers worked hard on the new cloth. As people passed the shop, they saw the two rogues making the motions of weaving in great haste. The night before the cloth was to be delivered, they burned 16 candles to let everyone know how hard they were working. See, this was written in the days where there weren't any electric lights. They had to have candles. It was late indeed when they made all the movements, first of cutting the precious cloth from the loom with their great scissors, and then carefully folding and wrapping it. Not for their lives would any who were watching have admitted that they failed to see so much as a shadow of cloth. The two rogues went to the castle. They had the emperor's new clothes all ready, they said. One held out his arm as if to show a sleeve. The other held out what he said were the trousers. Magnificent, superb, cried the courtiers, though they saw nothing. And now, said one of the rogues, will your majesty please take off his old suit? He will be surprised to find this new one as light as a spider web. He will hardly know that he has anything on, but that is one of the great advantages. The emperor took off his old suit. One of the rogues pretended to put trousers on the emperor, the second his tunic. One seemed to be arranging his collar. The other appeared to be tying something around the waist. And that was the train. The two high chamberlains bent over as if to pick it up. They dared not admit that they could feel no weight in their hands and that the train was quite invisible. There's another picture of them, the two rogues pretending to fold the cloth and cut it and make garments with it. The emperor turned and twisted before the mirror as if admiring his new clothes. Not for 10 kingdoms would he have said that as far as he could see, he had nothing on at all. Word now came that the canopy under which the emperor was to walk was ready. The emperor could neither see nor feel his clothes, but he held himself all the straighter as he joined the procession. His two high chamberlains walked behind him as if holding up a heavy train. As they passed through the streets, all the people shouted, "See the emperor's new clothes! Never has he had such a fine suit. How rich the cloth, how bright the jewels." Really? "But," said a little child, "he has nothing on." The child's father nodded and said, "Listen to the innocent. He says the emperor has nothing on." One passed the word to the next. "A child says the emperor has nothing on." Then the whole crowd shouted, "The emperor has nothing on." The emperor heard them, but he only held his head higher and walked more stiffly than ever. And behind him, the two chamberlains carried the invisible train. All he's wearing is his underwear. Oh my goodness. It took a child who was innocent to say what the truth was, that the emperor was really not wearing a suit of clothes at all. All he had on was his underwear. And so we shouldn't try to hide the truth. If we don't understand something or think something is one way, we should be honest and speak up and not just try to go along with whatever the crowd is saying, because sometimes the crowd can deceive us. So I hope we won't be like that foolish emperor, and we will speak up and do what's right. Remember, Grandma loves you.